Yeah, I think I probably even have mixed feelings about evaluation. I should let you all know from the outset that I am not a researcher, but I've been in education for 25 years and led programs and have always really valued the evaluation and really leaned on it heavily to deliver award-winning programs and large programs. And part of what I love about Raising a Reader is how intentional we are about evaluation. So my mixed feelings are that there's so much work that goes into it, and then there's so many things that I feel like are beautiful about the work that we can do, and it's hard for it to show up in the graphs and data and even the stories sometimes. It's hard to get all that beauty and all that great work into one report. So that's my mixed feelings about evaluation, but in general, I do love that we're rigorous about it because it helps us know that we're making a difference. So keep in mind your own personal feelings about evaluation, because I will say this a few times throughout the presentation today, is that we really want how you evaluate your Raising a Reader program to be yours. So to let you know about, okay, I am going to be admitting people into the room because I'm co-hosting, our evaluation principles. Before we get into what we'll be talking about today, I would say primarily we are family focused. We really want to make sure that what we do shows our theory of change and our evidence in a way that's friendly to families and is really asset based and inclusive. So that's number one in our principles. Another principle for us is going to be turnkey, and something that isn't always in development. We're always trying to improve on that. But the idea there is that we really want to make sure we provide a support that's we can implement with ease. As we just reflected, there is like, we like the outcomes, but oh my gosh, the process sometimes. So we want to try to make the process as easy as possible. And then we want to use tools that really make our impact accessible and clear. And then finally, we're growth focused. So the more we learn from our families, the more we can grow our reach and impact. So it's really about learning and growing. We get these beautiful reports and we can pat ourselves on the back for the great work we're doing, but we can also dig deep into the work and say, and to the reports and say, oh, how can we be improving? What are families really reflecting with this data? Those are our principles. And I wanted to share our theory of change, because back to what I was saying before, gosh, it's hard to get all of this incredible work that we do into a report. So I'm sure your organizations have similar theories of change. What we do with a theory of change is we're showing what we do, what we want our results to be for our beneficiaries, and also what we are aspirational about. So this is our theory of change. It shows all that we do and all that we're hoping for when it comes to families and their home learning environment. So there's the work that we do nationally with our own cohort of educators, that community of practice, that's the green column there. That then leads to a change among the parents and the caring adults, and that then leads to the children. But we're not going to go into detail here. I just want you to see the level of thought and the amount of outcomes that we're all hoping to do and working towards. And so how do we get all of that great work to really show up in terms of an impact report? It's challenging. It's challenging, and it's going to kind of inherently be imperfect. Like, how can we get everything that we know we're doing into some gorgeous report? So one of the things that I had stars in that theory of change before to show that we're going to really focus today on the element of the parents, the caring adults, and the children. So those outcomes. And these are, we have our evidence base, and these are over and over again the outcomes that we see in our program in Raising a Reader. You should be familiar with these, but I'm just going to share them here. So we see this increased access to books in the home, increased frequency and duration of shared reading times, improved parent-child interactions during reading. That has layers to it. All of this has layers to it, but so that's one way of describing it. It's also described as dialogic reading, the shared reading practice, that actual reading practice. There's change there. Improved early literacy skills. and in children's intrinsic motivation to read. So those outcomes have shown up in our own individual reports, and they've also shown up in our external evaluation. So because Raising a Reader has had such a strong affiliate base, such strong commitment to fidelity over the years, we've had external evaluators come in and look at those outcomes again and again, and have shown in 40 independent evaluations that especially the Classic Red Book program shows these consistent positive outcomes on home reading routines. In order to get those key outcomes, we really have relied heavily on this parent data. So a survey to parents. There's lots of other ways to get data. There's focus groups, there's one-on-one interviews. And what we're going to spend more time on today is just how to get that parent data to show a clear change in those outcomes. And another part that's been very wonderful with all of you, with the affiliates, is that not only has there been a commitment to the fidelity of the program, but there also has been a commitment among affiliates to lead your own evaluation. And so for at least 40% of our affiliates yearly conduct their own evaluation. We want to encourage that. This is yours. Doing your evaluation is up to you. How you want to do it is up to you. And of course, that's important because it's part of our key principle is that you're going to know best what's going to work best for your families, what's going to be family focused, and that's going to be different for every community. So even with that variety in mind, we still want to provide a tool that you can use and choose to use if you want to. So today we're going to spend time on that tool, and I'll just have to keep repeating it so that everyone knows this is a tool that's optional. It helps, it can help you see that parent outcome, but among our community of experts, we know there's other tools, we know there's other ways that you go about getting that data, and we welcome that, and we love to hear about that. We're going to hone in today on one tool that we've been using. So the tool that we're focusing on today is the Raising a Reader Parent Survey, what we've been calling the digital retrospective. So what retrospective means in this case is that it's parents reflecting back on the impact of the program. It's different than a pre-post in that in one survey, parents are reflecting on their access to books, their home learning routines, their reading behaviors, and children's motivation to read. Those of you who have worked with the digital retrospective are familiar with the cadence of the questions. Now, while participating in the program, what did you experience? And then before you participate in the program, what did you experience? And we end up with a story of change between before the program and now that they're currently in the program. That retrospective survey was created originally by Child Trends. It's been updated by the Institute for Child Success. We've also received feedback from affiliates and from parents on that survey. It evolves a little bit every year. We're working on another round of feedback from last year. But all of this is to say is that it has been tested. It's been verified by experts as a way to capture the change in outcomes that we see with home learning routines. We deliver the survey in Spanish and English. We can deliver the survey in other languages by request. We spent time on this last year, so those of you who are new to the program may just start with the digital retrospective, but there has been a real evolution in how we get that parent data. In the past, we used to do pre-post paper surveys. Some people are still doing those pre-post surveys. And we moved to emphasizing the retrospective approach. And we just want to kind of review why we made that change. Again, emphasizing once again that this is a tool that we're providing for all of you. If you still really want to do pre-post, that's great. This is this tool that we're going to be supporting. So we made that switch to the digital retrospective because of one of the main things is just easing the educator, coordinator, and parent burden. So with a pre-post, there's two campaigns you have to do, the pre and the post. So you have to really get that survey response the first time and then the second time. There's less room for error in the analysis because you're not trying to match. Now, was this Sally Sue pre and Sally Sue second time? To make sure, I know that there's a lot of time that had been spent in the past on making sure that each entry was actually truly reflecting the pre and post of one individual family. Because we don't have to do that, we actually can keep the surveys anonymous, which has a lot of advantages, allows us to administer the survey from here from Raising a Reader. And they are a respected way to gather data and evaluation. I will say a small anecdote that is not from Raising a Reader. So there's lots of, people could be, I believe in pre-post, and people could be, I believe in retrospective. So there's lots of different camps out there. We welcome that. I know that from my experience, when I used to do a pre-post with teens, we had much more accurate results in a retrospective than a pre-post, because the teens, when they did our program, thought they knew a ton. And then after they did the program, they realize, oh my God, I didn't know as much as I thought I know. So there can be some challenges to people assessing what they actually do at the beginning of something versus what they do at the end of something. This digital retrospective gives people the chance to reflect. Okay, now that I'm in Raising a Reader, what's changed? Let me think back on what things were like before. All right, come on, slides. Great. So we're going to share a little bit of the results from the pilot that we did last year, just to give a sense of what doing a digital retrospective, what the results can look like. So what we did last year, I'm very thankful to those the affiliates that participated with us. We implemented one same survey with select affiliates via SurveyMonkey. We did it in Spanish and English, and each participant in the pilot of working with us pretty closely one-on-one on implementing this survey, they each got a SurveyMonkey dashboard of their results, and then they also got an in-depth report. In total, there are about 600 respondents of all the families across 4 affiliates. And so we're going to share a little bit of what those reports look like. I'm going to give you 2 distinctions first before we dive into the reports. So the first is that dashboard that was created in SurveyMonkey. I'm going to just briefly show you what that dashboard looks like, what it showed in terms of now and before. And just to share that dashboard is a useful look at the before and after. A lot of affiliates were really reliant on the test of, does this have statistical significance? What's the effect size? That was not included. SurveyMonkey can't do that on its own, so that was not included in that dashboard report. And not every affiliate needs that. So, so that's just something to think about if you want to go this approach, if you really need that element, that layer of verification. The other element with the SurveyMonkey dashboard is that you end up with a couple of reports. Currently, we haven't combined the ability to combine Spanish and English respondents, so you have 2 different reports to look at. And then we're going to share a little bit about from our more in-depth reports. So those were created in collaboration with our consultants and a data analyst. It includes same elements that the SurveyMonkey dashboard has. The cool thing is, and you'll see, is that there's a little bit more visually compelling, and that you can see the now and before in one snapshot. It does include that statistical significance and effect size information. And we were able to combine Spanish and English into one report. And just for you to know, as we're sharing this, this will be available by request. So we'll go into the how at the end of the presentation. Let's switch gears into the dashboard. Okay. Sorry for the delay here. So this won't be too unfamiliar. So those of you who've delivered either a pre-post or the digital retrospective, you'll see these pretty graphs that show the questions really related around the home learning environment. So this element now, after participating and raising a reader, do you have a routine? And then before, did you? So this element shows we really want that no to go down after participating and raising a reader. Should also be familiar questions. Getting into the behavior of change in behavior among parents. Are you asking questions along with reading? Are you using different voices? We just talked about that with someone yesterday. Providing opportunities for the child to choose the book. And here we're really looking at the now all the time going up and never going down. So if you look between now and before, you can see that difference. I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to stop sharing for a second so make sure I pull up the correct report. And then show the more in-depth report that we were able to provide. Okay, so this is the more in-depth report. It involved additional data analysis and software beyond what SurveyMonkey is capable of. And actually, I left something else. I'm going to go back to my presentation because I want to share these two concepts before we dive into here. All right, so the two concepts I want to share are back to the statistical significance. Okay, so the statistical significance that a lot of our affiliates have been used to getting from this data of change in behavior with parents' home learning environments really states whether or not the change is something that can be verified. Is it just by chance, or is this change actually something that can be verified? And then effect size is a quantitative measure of the magnitude or strength of a relationship. So what's the strength of that difference between before and after? So we'll keep that in mind when we go back to the survey. Here we go. Okay, thanks for your patience with the toggling. All right, so we have those two things in mind, statistical significance and then effect size. So this just shows the more in-depth analysis and what we were able to get. This is combined data from the schools and organizations that participated in the pilot. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of the questions. So one of the ones that I think is just such a gratifying response is to just ask that first question is how do you have a routine now after participating in Raising Reader? And so we get to see this great change. 64% before, up to 92% after. So awesome work on the part of the affiliates that participated in this pilot. You're running beautiful programs, and it's just exciting to see that change. And then what this report provided is this statistical significance is strong. So it's the 4 stars indicates that it's strong. And then I'm going to just jump to a couple other questions just to see an example of what the data looks like. So another typical question, how many times a week are you asking, did your child ask to look at books with other people with you in your household? This one showing before and then now. The effect size in this one, the magnitude is small. I'm going to show another one that's a little greater. And this one's moderate. How many minutes do you or other people in your household usually spend with your child each time you look at books together? So that is with the green, it's increasing, and then the magnitude is moderate, which is actually great. One thing I really love looking at in this report is the level of confidence in supporting your child's learning routine. So again, we're looking at these shades changing from now and before, going to very confident. Look at that, that's awesome, 66% very confident. And we've eliminated the red, so there's no one who's not at all confident. It's cool if you check out this whole report. In most cases, we've eliminated the red, and then we're still got a 25% there. They're confident, but so many folks moved over to that a very confident realm. It's awesome. And I'm gonna do one more, so you can see all the questions on the left side. I love this one. This just goes, if we think of our theory of change, really getting into that idea of how are we really affecting children's interest in reading, their motivation, their interest in reading, their curiosity about reading. Really nice change here. So a large increase. Large increase, ability to get along with others. This is the kind of question that's like really cool because it's aspirational. It's like, oh, how are we gonna see if Raising a Reader makes a difference in that way? Ooh, it does make somewhat of a difference according to parents. Ability to communicate ability to communicate feelings, also an indication of increase, another layer of increase. Okay, so these are some of the results from last year's overall report. And now we're going to hear from affiliates on what their experience was with the report and with the data collection, and get more into the nuances of getting the survey out to into educators and families, and then we'll have some time for questions. So I think we're going to start with Nicole. Nicole, I'll pull your slides up.
Thank you.
Nicole, why don't you introduce yourself while I get your slides up?
So, hi everyone. My name's Nicole Bailey. I am an instructional coach with Buffalo Public School District, and my focus is literacy. But as an instructional coach, I do a little bit of everything. But that's why I was placed specifically with Raising a Reader, because I have that literacy component in my title. And a little bit about Buffalo Public Schools. We're a very large district, second largest in the state. And the pre-kindergarten department services 37 schools, 122 classrooms, which works out to be somewhere around 2,196 students that we service and bring Raising a Reader to. We also have community-based organizations as well, as part of our pre-K grant, but we fund them. So hopefully we've tried to encourage them at professional developments to, use some of their funding to, purchase Raising a Reader materials. So, we're hopeful that maybe some of them will start to do that in the future. The retrospective survey implementation. So last year was the first year that Raising a Reader offered this. I have been with the Buffalo Pre-K department as an instructional coach since the 21-22 school year. So the first 2 years I did do the paper surveys. So last year we started it, and this year we always put a schedule out to our teachers in our instructional guides. So I just wanted to share with you that now I know in different states, school begins and ends at different times a year. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, we start after Labor Day, and we end at the end of June. So that's our school year, September through June. So our final red bag rotation is going to be anywhere between April 28th and May 2nd. After that, once bags are due back, that will be the end of the red bag rotation for our teachers for the school year. May 5th is when we've decided this year to send parents the retrospective survey link. We're going to communicate weekly reminders every Monday so that hopefully we increase our completion rate. And the parent surveys are due back May 23rd, so we're giving them 3 weeks to complete. Advantages to delivering the retrospective survey. So I love the idea that we are only sending this out once a year. It was very difficult to kind of gather all of this data up when we were doing a pre and post, because sometimes parents that did the pre didn't do the post, or vice versa. We had people doing the post, even though we said there wasn't really, we wouldn't get any data if they just did the post and didn't do the pre. So that was, and it was difficult. It was difficult for our teachers, especially when it was paper and pencil, to make sure that when they were entering the data into the spreadsheet, that they were entering the post in the same line on the spreadsheet that they entered the pre. So it was a lot of work for me to clean up as well. So we love the retrospective survey. And I also really think, I was thinking about it after Patricia was saying how valid and reliable this type of survey is. I was thinking about, as a parent, oftentimes when you do a pre, you are, and they're asking you questions about how often you read at home with your child, you want to look like the rock star, right? You want to be the great parent. So you're going to maybe inflate the way that you rate yourself, where with a retrospective, you're being more reflective and you feel more comfortable about being honest with what you did previously and how much the program was able to grow you and how much you learned. So that was just something I was reflecting on as she was speaking earlier. Another thing, of course, teacher convenience, no copies, no data input, simply send out the links to families. Convenience for parents, no paper copies traveling back and forth to school. We all know how things get lost in those backpacks and folders. And also that the link can be completed electronically They can use their phone, any really electronic device would work. And also that it provides very concise data. It's easily presented to district admin and also to the Board of Education. So we were very impressed with what we got out of the retrospective survey. And then some data highlights for Buffalo. 90% of our families reported that they developed a book sharing routine compared to 67 prior to participation in Raising a Reader. So the now is much higher than the then. We have almost 100% where we had, over 50, but we definitely had a substantial increase. And then 52% of families reported their child asks to look at books at least 5 times a week, compared to prior to participation, where they reported only 34%. Also, the data that these surveys provide to us allow us to sustain the program, because districts, as we all know, are data-driven. We don't do anything unless we have valid and reliable data to prove that a program is making a difference, is having an impact. So we need that data in order to keep doing this. And also it provides information to assist with future book orders. So one of the things we learned from doing this survey, one of the questions asked about whether or not families felt that they could see themselves within the books that were coming home. So were we sending home books that met the diversity needs throughout our district? And we found that we needed to do better. So we were able to purchase books in various languages and multicultural books, and also books that dealt with children with differing abilities so that we could better meet the needs of our special ed pre-K classrooms, and also books that dealt with social emotional learning. So as I showed at the last town hall meeting, I've created a form in Google Forms so that teachers can go on and request books that best will meet the needs of their current classroom. And that has been super helpful. That feedback has been, hopefully we will see a huge change in that on this year's survey.
Awesome. Do you want to share anything else? Anything else that maybe wasn't on the slides, and then we'll move on to Jennifer, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end after both presentations.
I think I hit on just about everything, unless there was something you think I missed, Patricia, that we talked about.
You got it. No, that's great. Thank you so much for presenting. And now I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer Robinson, and let me just pull up her slides, and you can introduce yourself, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Robinson, and I'm the coordinator for Raising a Reader in Santa Cruz County and the Pajaro Valley, which is part of northern Monterey County in California. And I'll just give you a little background. So we serve all of the Head Start state preschools, about 140 family childcare homes, 5 school districts, comes out to about 3,000 children. And this also includes the migrant programs, teen programs. So it's pretty much the whole county is what is under our affiliate. So there's a lot of variety in families and with their income levels and their education levels and their exposure to books. So it's really important to get accurate data to see how this program is affecting everyone on a large scale. So I have been doing surveys for 18 years here in this county, and it's looked differently in different ways, and we were very clear that we didn't want to do a pre and post because it is hard to match up the families, but mostly because we were advised that it's not very accurate, just as Nicole was saying, and Patricia, that people inflate their ideas of how they're doing, not only because they think they're doing better in the beginning, but because they think they're supposed to be sharing the books more frequently than they are. So we felt that the retrospective survey made more sense. We created a paper version, and we used to do it in group settings with parent meetings, and then we would evaluate people together and kind of explain the survey. We tried lots of different things, and then finally moved to a digital version, and that was helpful, especially during 2020 and the pandemic years. And last year we got to participate with Raising a Reader with a Survey Monkey. And by far it was the easiest way to measure the results of the effects of Raising a Reader. And it was easier for me to get it out, but it was easier for the families to answer the questions. I felt like it was more clear and more accessible to everyone. And as Nicole was saying, we didn't have to worry about paper and pens and tallying everything up. It was already there, and then we didn't have to do data entry to follow up. It was already entered directly by the parent. So that was really helpful. We got over 100 responses, about 123 responses. And so what happened was I emailed the teachers and said, please complete these surveys. And I did it in May, which was not ideal for us because a lot of programs finish in May or June, early June. So this time in 2025, I'm going to do it in April. And then also I provided incentives. So I said that the class that received the highest amount, the class or the center that received the highest amount of surveys completed, received books for the whole classroom. And it was easy to see on the survey who had completed the most, because it does ask the site name. And then I was able to deliver those books. I don't know how sustainable that part is because books are expensive, but I really wanted to get people to respond and to motivate them and kind of reward them for doing this. And then that way the teachers were, they were more likely to get it out. The other thing that helped is that SurveyMonkey tells you how many surveys have been completed each day. And so I was able to go back and send again the survey link to the teachers that didn't have a very high turnover. And so I could target certain areas, and that was helpful. And so far with all our surveys, this was the highest response rate. So we were happy that it was easy for them. The survey was a little bit too long for our parents, so some of them didn't finish it. I looked at it and felt like it was too long as well. So we want to make changes so that it's not so long. Equity issues. Okay, so we noticed that the parents that are mostly English speaking and higher incomes were filling out the surveys more than anyone else in the county. So they have the most resources, and this is not as hard for them. So it seemed like this was a lopsided view of Raising a Reader in our county. So what I did was I created another survey and interviewed last fall migrant families. And I call it an interview because it's one-on-one and I have to explain it to them and sometimes model that this is the behavior now. What was it like before? And just kind of even use the symbol or the movement so they understood what I was talking about. And that was very valuable to get their perspective. And then this fall, we were able to use the Survey Monkey, and Patricia helped me convert it into Spanish. So then I was able to give it to them. Again, I had to ask them and talk to them because they were not going to be filling it out on the computer. And some of them are non-readers and they wouldn't be able to read it anyway. So I asked them the survey questions and I either filled it out on the computer or I actually also made a paper version for 10 of the families because it was easier than using the screen outside. So I was interviewing them outside after their long workday. And I feel like there's more balance to push out this digital retrospective survey and then include from the migrant perspective what those families experienced, because I wanted to get a bigger picture and more range with the socioeconomic levels within our area. I'm not sure if other people have experienced that as well, that the higher educated parents are the ones that are filling out the survey. Yeah, okay. Let's go on to thank you for changing the slide. Okay, so the report, it was really helpful to get to the dashboard and I appreciated the graphics to really explain the results. I was able to share it with First Five Santa Cruz, which is our main funders, and then they include it into their report to the commission, and that's how they are able to justify giving money to Raising a Reader in our area. I did appreciate the specificities and the detail, the effect size information. I wanted to share some highlights from the report. I don't have it in the slide, but in front of me, that the surveys, and we did 2 different surveys last year, but the ones that filled out of 123 people, when the child asked to look at books at least 5 times a week, it went from 37% before RAR to 63% using Raising a Reader. And parents talked about new words most of the time, went from 50% to 80% after using Raising a Reader. So there were big jumps in all of the statistics that were asked, and those are some that we highlighted. Then with a migrant population, they read or shared books with their child at least 3 to 4 times a week. It went from 18% to 64%. A lot of that has to do with they didn't have access to books. There were no books in their homes. So this was a really, really big, significant jump. Now, they shared the same book with their child more than once, went from 37% to 98%. And then they pointed out pictures and talked about them 1 or more times a week, went from 49% to 100%. So we had big increases in all of the different areas. One of the questions I really appreciated on the survey was asking, how many books do you own in your home? And you can see a really large range in our area, from 3 books to well over 100. And so it's nice to have the whole picture. And a question that I took out of the survey that I wish was still in there is the home language. What is the language of your families? Many of ours are speaking Mixteco, and I wasn't able to grasp that data. So I'm hoping to put that back into the survey next time. Some other highlights is that that we're proud of the frequency that parents read to their child and ask to be read to. It increased in both groups and tremendously. And the amount of books as well. And for some families, raising a reader was the only way that they had books in their homes. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer and Nicole. I really want to highlight the effort that both of you went into making sure the survey got to all of your community. I love the example of going in person. I mean, I know not everyone has that time, but I love that you went to that extra effort to make sure that the migrant families were really included in the full story of the impact. And then those statistics are just so beautiful. I want to also highlight that because, as I said at the beginning, this is one way. So this is one tool we're providing for you, and we want you to dig in and come up with the ways that make the most sense for your community. There's some advantages to using the digital retrospective. We've shared some of those here, but then you may find a way that's going to be more effective for you. So this is one way, and we want to share some of the benefits of it. So I'm going to pause for any questions for Nicole and Jennifer, and then I'm going to go into the next steps if you want to approach evaluation in the way that they did. Any questions for Nicole and Jennifer? It looked like there was one about, did your response rate go up? Mm-hmm. I think that was probably for Nicole. Did it go up when you went from paper to digital?
So it remained pretty consistent. One of the things that we want to work on this year, last year what we did was we did attach a survey, or not a survey, a raffle link to the end of the survey. So once they completed it, they would be entered into a raffle to win a book. And we did deliver books out to the winners. I think what I would like to do this year is add an additional component where we really get teachers to really be encouraging their families and reminding them to fill them out and really like railing behind their parents to do this. And so we would like to offer some type of reward to classrooms based on the classrooms that have the most completion, the highest completion rate, or 100% completion. So that is something that we would like to add.
That's great. Both of you did great incentivizing. So I'm going to go back to our next steps. And, oops, hold on. And how to participate, so we're sure to end on time. So, okay, so reiterating, this is an option, is doing the digital retrospective through us. So here are your options. You can implement your own kind of evaluation. You can take, you can use our survey as a guide. So as some people said it was too long, there's some versions of it that are even longer. So we're actually looking at how to shorten it based on the feedback that we got last year. I should say right away that if you do it through us with SurveyMonkey, in order to get that report, it needs to be the same survey. So you can't adjust questions. You can add questions, but you can't adjust the questions. So you kind of use, if you're going to go with us, you would use a set number of questions. If you don't go with us, you can take the survey that we've implemented and be like, I actually want to do it my way. I'm going to do it in Google Forms. I'm going to use Microsoft. Do it however you want to. So that's option one. You can just implement your own. Option two is you could do what Jennifer and Nicole did, and that involves getting a survey link from us. Then you would get that dashboard report, which I showed earlier. If you want to partner more deeply with us, you would get the in-depth report, and that's what Jennifer and Nicole both got. And then if you want to do something completely new and different, that's awesome too. We'd love to know what it is and love to know how it went for you. So there are some steps. I'll go back to that. The steps if you do want to participate and use SurveyMonkey. You'll get an email with the actual survey, so you can kind of see what's in there. We are sending you a Google form just to keep all the various forms software companies happy. We've got a lot of different versions. We just have a Google form because it's simple. And what we want to know from that is when are you implementing your survey? How many languages do you need it in? Do you want to add questions to the survey? That's a possibility. Nicole used that option. Do you want that in-depth report, or are you fine with the SurveyMonkey dashboard? And then you'll get that customized link. We're available for one-on-ones about your evaluation through December. I mean, we're really available, but especially in December and January, so you can firm up those plans. And then based on what you fill out in the Google form, then you'll get your report based on your timeline. So Jennifer's starting to do, she's capturing the migrant families now because that works for her. So I know that all works for those families. I know that you guys, some of you have more rolling timelines. So if you need something sooner, let me know. But for now, this is when everyone will get their links. And different from the past, instead of we're going to create all the links at the same time. So we're just trying to scale what we did last year during the pilot. I'm getting close to time, so I'm just going to see if there's any remaining questions. No? Okay, cool. Well, you can send questions our way. I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat right now. Otherwise, you'll get a Google form from us, and you can let us know if you want to get that SurveyMonkey link. And we hope whatever you do in terms of evaluation, we hope that you get what you need in terms of learning about the impact of your program, and that you find a way to get that kind of feedback and that glow. It's so wonderful to hear from both Jennifer and Nicole that positive change between before the program and after. They really should be really proud of those results.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Nicole. It was great to know what everyone thinks, and the evaluation with digital. It's been a long time coming, and we're so excited to be on this new path. So, thank you all. So just wrapping us up, we are really interested and eager to see what you would love to explore in topics in terms of town halls. So what I've done is I've put a link in the chat, and if you would like to participate and let us know what you want to hear in terms of town hall topics, we would love for that feedback from you. Again, it's right there in the chat. And we look forward to this webinar being in our November bookmark, and then having everyone join us on November 20th for our November town hall. So that concludes our evaluation town hall for today. I will stay on, as well as some other program members. If you have any questions, you can stay on for our office hour. Thank you, everyone.